Hello and welcome everybody. This is the proMX Dynamics Week 2020 and my name is Yelena Yaruchik and I will be your moderator today as during all this week. So I would like to start this session, and this session will be in relation to very interesting new product, which is project operations, and this session will be also in connection to early adopters. As you know, I will place to Q&A session all links which will be for the next sessions on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And yeah, let's start with our speakers. Today with us, Gurkan Salk, this is a General Manager, Microsoft Corp, and Manuel Hanak, Director PreSales from proMX.
Perfect. Thank you, Yelena. My name is Gurkan Salk, and I'm very happy to be here. So I'm the General Manager for Project Operations on the Dynamics R&D side at Microsoft. So very happy to be here, and I would like to thank our close partner proMX for organizing this event. So with that, let me just switch over to my deck, and we can get the presentation going. Here we go. Hopefully you can see my screen. So in today's session, what we want to provide is we want to provide an overview of the project-centric economy and the business problem that project operation is solving. So we're going to do an introduction to project operations. I will talk a little bit about Dynamics 365, the ecosystem, how project operations fits into that ecosystem, and how we're working closely with our partners, such as proMX, to go the last mile to provide industry solutions. And then we'll do a project operations demo, and we want to leave plenty of time for questions and answers. If you have any questions on any topic regarding project operations, we'll be happy to help with that. So with that, let me start talking a little bit about the business problem that project operations is looking to solve. Project operations is a business application that targets services organizations with project-centric service offerings. The solution will help services organizations or services divisions within product organizations to digitally transform their project lifecycle. So an example is, for instance, Microsoft, right? If you take Microsoft is a company that sells both products as well as services. So our services division would be looking to use a solution like project operations, or if you think about a consulting company that just sells services, so that would be a perfect fit for project operations. And if you look at these service-centric businesses, they are embracing the move to the cloud faster than product-centric organizations. Many service-centric businesses see the cloud as a way of increasing value and improving the flexibility and mobile accessibility of their business application deployments. And there's a good reason for this, as they need the ability to quickly respond to customer and business demand shifts with innovative and valuable service offerings that can be delivered on time, within scope, and on budget. If you look at the product organization, introducing a new offering for the product organization is a much more capital intensive and slow process. The product organization would need to design the product, they would need to pilot it, they would need to prepare the manufacturing facilities, build up inventory, and then they could launch a new offering into the market. But that's not the case for services organizations, right? Services organizations can quickly adapt to changes in market demand, create a new offering, or switch from one offering to another offering by changing their practice mix and their resources, train the resources on this new offering. So services organizations need to be much more agile and need the business application that allows them to be much more agile to adapt to those demand changes. And project operations will allow you to do that. Although service organizations are very quick to go to the cloud, if you look at our telemetry as Microsoft, if you look at what analysts are saying, service organizations are the organizations that go to that adapt the cloud much faster. But although these organizations are very quick to go to the cloud, their application landscape within the organization is still very siloed. They usually have a sales system where they track their leads and opportunities that's disconnected from the delivery team. Their project managers use different project management tools where project execution is tracked and project progress information needs to be frequently uploaded to the business application. Project financials and project profitability is usually tracked yet in another system. Project team members track time and expenses in a multitude of tools most of the time, and consultant skills and profiles are tracked in a different application. And practice managers use a variety of tools for risk management. So merging the data from all these siloed applications to derive insights becomes a challenge and introduces many inaccuracies in the process. And I can talk to that from personal experience. Many years ago, I used to run a practice at Microsoft Consulting Services. And we had a similar application footprint. We had more than 10 systems where our project data was being collected. And twice a year, we would go through workforce planning exercise. So this was a very valuable exercise. At the end of this exercise, we would get insights around, which of our offerings were doing better, what was our resource utilization, where were we getting more of the sales demand, and how did we have to change our resource mix to address this demand. And we would change our hiring plans, we would change our training plans accordingly to address this demand that was changing. But this exercise was very expensive, right? It would take us 3 to 4 weeks. We would collect all the data, merge all the data, and then we could only afford to do it twice a year. Obviously, in today's world, doing such a workforce planning exercise only every 6 months is unacceptable. What customers demand today is to be able to get these insights in real time and have their business application notify them of any demand changes and then recommend any practice mix adjustments that they need to do. And with project operations, you are able to do that. Project operations connects the entire organizations and empowers sales, project management, resourcing, delivery, partner management, and accounting teams with the visibility they need to win more contracts, accelerate project delivery, maximize profitability, and minimize cost if they are internal projects. And project operations integrates with customers' current systems such as sales, finance, and HR without the need to rip and replace existing systems. So in this, using this solution, project managers are able to use their native tool and plan projects directly within their business application without the need for any third-party integration. As project managers assign new resources, update status on their tasks, revenue and cost will seamlessly be updated in the backend and reflected to the project financials. Resource managers, having visibility to all project requirements and resource availability, can easily propose the most optimal resource team to project managers. And account managers can accurately estimate opportunities in a collaboration with the delivery team and increase their ability to win more contracts. Partner managers will be able to collaborate with subcontractors and ensure the procurement processes are completed according to the organization's policies and maximize the value they get from these vendor contracts. And the project accountant will have accurate visibility on the pro forma invoice that's initiated by the project manager and ensure that invoices and financials are delivered accurately and on time. And team members will be able to enter time and expenses to the respective for their respective projects directly into project operations, and that will connect to your accounts payable system, so that the team member will get reimbursed on that expense that they have entered for that project. In most organizations, team members have to do duplicate entry today. They enter expenses into the project tool. They also enter expenses into the financial tool to get reimbursed, and that can be combined with project operations. So in this slide, I want to talk at a high level of what capabilities there are in project operations. As you can see, we have capabilities all the way from project sales to project accounting. Our project sales capabilities in project operations are built on top of Dynamics 365 for sales. So we are leveraging that IP that exists with our opportunities and contracts in Dynamics 365 for sales, and we have extended those capabilities and put them into a project context. So what you will see from a project sales capabilities perspective is that we have CPQ for services, so that you can price and cost your resources around multi-dimensions. So a resource can be priced and cost based on the geographical location that they are in, based on their skill sets, based on their experiences they have, and that can be done in their local currency as well. So project operations does support all those capabilities. We also have project sales capabilities that allows you to create a project plan or the work breakdown structure, assign generic resources to it, price and cost these generic resources, and be able to convert that to a quote, so that your pre-sales organization can add their risk margins, can make their assumptions using a project plan, and make sure that the quote that they offer to the customer is an accurate one. And then once the deal is won, then you go. Then the project is handed over to the delivery team, right, where the project manager gets assigned to that project. Now, with project operations, the project manager and the delivery team are able to see the whole history and what has happened in pre-sales. You know, in my consulting experience, I had so many instances where I would go into the customer to deliver the project, and there was no good sales to delivery handover, and I had no idea what our pre-sales team had promised them, right? And so I would start the project on the wrong foot. But with project operations, the whole history around what happened in sales is in the same applications, will be accessible to the project manager and the delivery team. And then once the project managers get the project, they will start resourcing the project. So they will send requirements for skills and resources to the resource manager. The resource manager is a persona that has visibility to all the projects that are going on within the organization and all the requirements that the different projects have. They also have visibility into the practice and which resources are available, which are not available. So they will propose a project team to the project manager, and the project manager will collaborate with the resource manager until they agree on the right staffing for that project, at which point all the named resources will be booked on the project. If your organization does not have a project manager, resource manager persona, we do also support a decentralized version of assignment to projects, where the project manager can use the schedule board and be able to assign resources directly to the project themselves. And then once the project is resourced, so the team members will start executing on the project, where they will enter time and expense, and time will accrue to revenue and expense will accrue to cost. And our project operations does support both fixed fee and time and material type projects. So if it's a fixed fee project at certain milestones, you would start invoicing the customer and start recognizing revenue and posting project journals. If it's a time and material project, obviously you would invoice the customer at certain intervals and then start recognizing the revenue and posting project journals. So these are the end-to-end high-level capabilities that exist in project operations. And since this is all built on the Power Platform, you have great business insights that you can get from project operations around resource utilization, the profitability of your project business, getting insights around demand shifts, what type of offerings are you see more demand of since you have the sales data in the same system, and what type of a practice mix adjustment you would need to make to address the existing demand. And here in this slide, we show you the depth of project operations. Now, project operations is unique in the way it was built, is where we combined the best capabilities from Microsoft Project, from our legacy project service automation solution, and our financial capabilities, service-centric financial capabilities in our finance application. So project operations has very deep capabilities end-to-end. If you look at our deal management capabilities, that's based on Dynamics 365 for sales. We have very rich sales capabilities within project operations. Our project planning capabilities in project operations embed the Dynamics-based Microsoft Project offering, which is called Project for the Web. And it uses Microsoft Project's task scheduling, WBS, Gantt, Kanban capabilities directly within project operations. And when you look at our resource management capabilities, that's built on our universal resource scheduling engine that our field service team is engineering, and we have very deep resource management capabilities from that perspective. Our time entry and approval experiences are very deep as well, so that team members can enter time and expenses from mobile or from the web page directly into project operations. Project costing, pricing, and actuals and our CPQ capabilities are very deep, so you can configure your pricing and costing models as you wish in the multi-dimensionally. I talked about some of the example dimensions such as skills, experience, and geographical location, but you can certainly introduce a new dimension as your business needs. Our invoicing, project financials capabilities all come from our finance application, so we have very deep revenue recognition capabilities as well as project financial capabilities. So in these next couple of slides, I also want to talk a little bit about how project operations fits our Microsoft portfolio. So I'll start with the Dynamics 365 portfolio and talk about the better together scenarios that we have with some of our applications within Dynamics. So I'll start at the bottom. So with the Dynamics 365 sales integration, our customers are able to have a comprehensive pipeline and opportunity management capability where they can track the leads, opportunities, and quotes for both their product businesses, for the widgets that they are selling, as well as for the services that they are selling. So if you are an organization that has both, you can implement sales and project operations to manage all of your sales in a single application. With the Dynamics 365 finance integration, we are able to provide a service-centric ERP experience to our customers, extending our project operations capabilities all the way to payroll, accounts payable, accounts receivable, and general ledger. Through our marketing capabilities, we are able to provide comprehensive lead to opportunity to quote processes. For customers who have both field service as well as a project service function, we are able to support a central resource pool where resource availability can be managed regardless whether these resources go onto into the field on a work order or whether they are assigned to project operations. Since the underlying engine, the universal resource scheduling engine, is shared between these two applications, you can manage a single resource pool, taking into consideration your field service as well as project service needs. And the other better together scenario with field service is for those customers who have complicated work orders that they need to depict in terms of tasks. They will be able to do that in collaboration with field service and project operations as well. When we talk about human resources, the way project operations is implemented at the customer, we don't expect project operations to master the skills profile information, absentee information of employees, right? So that information will be managed in HR and will be integrated into project operations. In turn, project operations will send information to the HR system around workforce planning, whether that's around the training plans or the hiring needs for the organization. So that's our better together scenario with human resources. And for supply chain, when you look at construction engineering type organizations where you have an engineer to order type scenario, and you need to have materials as well as resources that you build in your project plan, you will be able to do that and have inventory checks be done directly from the project plan and adjust your project accordingly. And then from a Power Platform perspective, as is the case with all of our Dynamics applications, project operations is built on top of the Power Platform. So you're able to take advantage of the power of our Power Platform with Power Automate, Power Apps, Power BI, and any additional capabilities that you may need to extend the experience of project operations. And then I'll talk a little bit about our Office portfolio, and here I'll talk about Microsoft Project and Teams. Obviously, we're closely partnered with Microsoft Project, so we have been working with Microsoft Project for the past 3 years. And 3 years ago, when the two teams came together, we agreed to re-envision the cloud experience from Microsoft Project and create a cloud offering that was built on top of the Dynamics platform. So our two engineering teams came together 3 years ago, and they built this cloud offering that was released to the market last October, called Project for the Web. Project for the Web is the project planning experience that you will see in project operations. And as the Microsoft Project team adds new capabilities, new features to Project for the Web, you will see them show up in project operations as well, since the capability is embedded directly within it. We have integration with Teams. All of our project operations and projects within project operations utilize the office group concept, with all the members being in for the project being shared in the same office group, based on which you can create a Teams environment, access project operations directly from a Teams environment. You can share documentation in a Teams environment as well. So Teams integration is very easy and very easy to light up within project operations. So the last part I want to touch on is how we generate industry solutions with project operations. So project operations is a horizontal workload where we leverage the industry expertise of our extensive partner ecosystem to go the last mile to serve customers in a specific industry, such as proMX. proMX has years of experience in delivering project operations projects and successfully all around the world. And then basically we have been partnering with them in these implementations as well. So for most industries, we have a partner ecosystem that will help us to go the last mile, and that can be in the form of the implementation partner bringing their industry expertise and extending project operations using Power Platform capabilities to our customers' needs. Or in other cases, we have partner solutions that are in app source that will accelerate the implementation for you. And then proMX is able to provide both of those. With that, and these are the industries that we do support as project operations. So again, it's a horizontal workload, and if you're looking for any type of a service-centric organization within any of these industries, they are able to utilize project operations. So in this slide, I want to talk about the competitive advantage with project operations and what makes us different from our competitors. So the first one is the rich end-to-end capabilities I talked about. So if you look at vendors in the space, they usually come from a traditional ERP background, or they come from a traditional CRM background. And depending on the origin of that vendor, they either have very strong front-end capabilities, but not so strong back-end capabilities, or they have very strong back-end capabilities and not very strong front-end capabilities. With the investments that we have made in the Power Platform, with investments such as dual write, the virtual entities, we are able to bring to bear an application that's rich both on the front-end capabilities all the way to the back-end capabilities. So that's very unique to project operations in this space. The second competitive edge that I'll talk about is project managers being able to use their native tool within their business application directly. With Project for the Web capabilities being embedded into project operations, project managers can now manage their projects within project operations, update their tasks and resources, which will then be translated into revenue and cost in the background. No need anymore for third-party integration or for asking your project managers to upload project progress information into your business application. And the third piece I'll talk about is the insights that you can derive from this application, right? Having all the data in CDS and being able to combine sales to project financial data gives you the strength and the power to get insights around workforce planning, around how is your demand shifting, what are the areas that you need to strengthen in your practice. So project operations is a new application from Microsoft. Again, it became generally available on October 1st, but we had a public preview between June 22nd and end of September. And it was one of the highly participated Dynamics applications preview from a preview perspective in our history. So we had more than 2,000 public preview requests. During the 3 months, we had 1,000 unique customer and partner organizations who have participated in our public preview and provided us very valuable feedback. We had our support team engaged. Obviously, we treated public preview as a soft GA, and we had the whole organization supporting our customers. We had an active Teams engagement with public preview participants so that we have a close relationship as the product loop with them and can get feedback directly and support them on any issues or challenges that they ran into. We have completed a dozen of deep dive sessions, and we have 10 customers who kicked off their implementations as part of our early adapter program. So obviously the early adapter program is still going on. So we're 1 month into GA. And from GA update, so the sentiment is generally very positive. Very high interest in project operations does continue. We had 407 trial requests in October post GA, of which 392 were unique customers and partners. In this slide, I'll talk a little bit about our roadmap. Since I assume you're familiar with the Dynamics release wave. If not, to summarize, we have 2 main release waves within Dynamics. One is our April moment, and the other is our October wave. And between April and September, we will be releasing any features in the April wave. And then between October and March, we will be releasing any new features that would be publicly communicated for the October wave. So for our April wave, again, it's a short wave for us since we GA'd only in October. What we're looking to do is we're going to look to complete the functional core, and there are a few items here. So non-stock materials support and tracking their consumption end-to-end from sales to project financial is a key deliverable for us, is a big rock for us for April. The integrated task-based billing so that you can do split billing using project operations is another deliverable. We will be also looking to light up our fundamentals around PSA upgrade and improving our provisioning and ALM experiences with project operations. If you look at the future post our April wave, starting with our October wave in 2021, these are the three categories that we will be focusing on. Under the Unified Better Together category, subcontracting and project budgeting is our P0 items. So we want to light those up end-to-end comprehensively. If you look at the subcontractor capability, this will include having a portal experience where your vendors can come in and collaborate with your customers to do purchase order, publish their time and entry, time and expenses to do that portal as well, and that will flow all the way into the financials, to vendor invoices and to purchase orders from a project financials perspective. Project budgeting similarly will be a comprehensive capability around managing your budget, whether that's in terms of revenue or the effort. So you will see those two big bugs land in the future post our April wave. Integration with Office templates for transactional reporting is another item on our feature list, and integration with core HR to light up the scenarios I talked about with the workforce planning information flowing into HR is another key item. The next set of features under Project Insights are really our artificial intelligence and insights capabilities that we're looking to light up. So we will be enhancing our analytics insights capabilities within project operations, give you a richer out-of-the-box reporting capability. The Project Insights Hub is a feature that where a persona, depending on the persona, whoever logs into project operations will go to a landing page that shows and focuses on their KPIs. If a project manager logs into it, it will talk about the success of the project, the risks, and the risks for the projects that they own. If a COO logs into project operations, they would see the KPIs around the profitability of the overall business and how the resource utilization is doing, type of things. The project team recommendations is another exciting AI scenario where we're looking to provide recommendations to the resource manager on how a certain project should be staffed and make their lives much easier. Project quotation or proposal insights is an AI scenario, is our next best action AI scenario that's sales focused. So if a salesperson is working on an opportunity for a certain customer, they will be able to get insights from the system saying, you know, you should focus on this in order to improve the probability of you landing the opportunity. Vendor insights and recommendation goes hand in hand with subcontracting. Here, the system will be recommending a vendor to the partner manager if they want to subcontract a certain portion of the project based on the skill set required for the tasks in that part of the project and the skill set of the vendors that they have in the system. And then we'll also have a project operations teams app, a chatbot type experience that's further down the line in our investments in the future. Completion of functional core. So we will be adding the managed services, subscription, billing type models on project contracts. We will also provide enhanced expense experiences, a universal mobile time and expense experience so that the consultant can just use one app to enter their time and expenses. But we will, of course, start with an enhanced time and expense mobile experience at first. And then tax and discount update on invoices and consumptions is another roadmap item for us. So on this slide, I also want to talk a little bit about the Microsoft Project roadmap. Again, Microsoft Project is embedded within Project Operations. So any new capabilities that they build into a project for the web will light up also for Project Operations. So that's something to keep in mind. So you do see like baselines or snapshots are in their future plans. So when those land, then they will light up for Project Operations as well. So I think with that, I will be handing it over to Manuel, who will do a demo for us, and then we'll go back to the Q&A session. Okay. Yelena, Manuel, are you there?
Hi, thank you. Thank you very much.
Good.
Full information about project operations, and especially the last part of the roadmap was very interesting and as always very informative. Thank you very much, Gurkan.
Thank you, Manuel.
So my name is Manuel Hanak, and my role at proMX is I'm working currently as a director in PreSales operations. So I'm one of those parts which Gurkan mentioned. Well, how can we get the knowledge of what have I, for example, discussed with the customer, and what needs to be fulfilled? What was my promises during the sales process? And I'm now happy to walk you through the system and have a deeper look of some features and functions. We have approximately a time for 40 minutes, so we cannot go to every feature in depth. So you can ask questions, feel free for that, and we will find time later to answer them as well. Beginning, we will start with to take a deep look into the quotation process. So how we can provide service-based quotations, what are our possibilities, how we can make usage of the pricing dimensions back, and how we can add new lines, how we can modify them, and how we can leverage the project planning capabilities to provide a proper quotation. The next step then we make a jump to an existing project contract. So we will not go to closest one and start from scratch. So we will directly jump to a pre-generated project contract and to dive deep into those project contract and project capabilities, including project planning, the replacement or the planning of resources, replacement, how we can request resources in a central PMO, for example, how we can staff our project, and how we can deeper insight as a project manager and the role as a project manager to see what happens in my project. Are we on track? Is there something we need to take care about? This is the part in the second part mainly, and then finally we will create some time entries on at least a few one, check for approvals, and then generate an invoice in finance to see how that new integrated world with finance is really seamlessly. So at the beginning, as mentioned, we start on the quote. We have several informations I think you're used to from a sales perspective, for example, about those informations. What is totally new in that integrated world is that we now have an owning company, not any longer only the contracting unit. So now we have as well the owning company, which is directly linked to the finance part, and is very important for the integration process. Another new feature, you see it here on the summary tab as well, is a not to exceed limit. So we can specify a limit we like to achieve or we cannot exceed afterwards. And now we have out of the box the possibility to provide one quotation to multiple customers. As you can see on the customers tab, for example, the main customer is added automatically from the front page, including the payment terms out of the box. Is there I will explain rounding pretty soon, and detailed not to exceed limit based on customer, for example. But we can add easily additional customers, and this will be respected throughout the whole process later on. So we can say, okay, we will add the Microsoft Corp, maybe add some payment terms for that, and add them. If we go into later on, we go into the contract, for example, the system will automatically split created actuals in the system. So every time entry, every expense, every fee we add to the system, to the project, will automatically be splitted. And if we generate an invoice, the system will generate 2 invoices, one for each customer, or if we have 10 customers or 20. So we can assign as many customers as we like, and we can, what is pretty important, we can add a not to exceed limit on the customer level. So that we can say in that example, so 10% of the billing amount is invoiced against Microsoft Corp, but a maximum, for example, 5,000 euro. Then the system will split those invoices till the limit is reached, and the rest gets charged to the main customer of that contract. On a quote line level, let's take the implementation services as an example. We have multiple possibilities to add new details to that quote level. If we following the tabs we see on the first point, which of the default roles of my organization are chargeable for this contract and which are not chargeable, for example. So I can change easily here by just clicking into those fields and to say, okay, in that scenario for this quotation, a consultant is not chargeable, but the cost gets tracked in the backend as well. This is a pretty nice feature. The same, we have the possibility to use for expense groups, expense categories. But if we'd like to add lines, to add more details to the quote line details is the right way. And as you can see here, we can add multiple lines, specify is this a chargeable, it's coming referred from the category by default, and we can assign roles for that. This is the easiest way or the fastest way to create a quote finally. So to add information to the quote, just hitting new quote line, specifying some text, say, okay, this time, expense, or as fee, so which transaction class should be used. Select the role. Let's say, okay, we choose that junior consultant, specify an start and an end date. Not too long, and the amount of hours. If you add days to your configuration in the backend, you can choose as well days from displaying. So it's as well a common request to not create quotes on hourly level to create quotes on a day level. And if you save that, those pricing dimensions Gurkan mentioned are now active. They going to the price list, looking for that specific role, and as you can see, instead of those other roles for that, the juniors are not chargeable finally. So there's no price in the price list, so there's a 0 amount listed. But this is not the only way how we can add information to a quote. For larger tenders or quotations, we have normally pre-sales activities running. So that means someone from the operational unit will generate more information, like a project plan, like a detailed planning for those quotations, and we can just go on the front, back to the front page and say, okay, let's choose that template and use this template for the quotation. You see here now, currently we have an approximately quoted amount for this line from approximately 100,000 euro. If we use this template and override our previously made configuration with the one from the assigned project, now we have several possibilities to summarize it by role or to say on which level we like to import it. If we choose a leaf node and no summarizing, we get the whole information from the contract, from the assigned project for the calculation. Just take some time. While we're waiting, so we can still, you see here in the backend as well, we can not only on the high level, on the upper level, from a quote perspective, we can specify multiple customers. We can assign them as well only to single lines. So that means that you can have multiple lines inside of one quotation, and you can specify the split billing options on a line level finally. Now you see a lot of information is generated by the system according to the assigned project plan. So what has a project manager and technical consultant or a PreSales consultant specified in a project plan from an effort estimation perspective. This is now automatically added with all details to the quotation. And our quoted amount is now much higher. It's now around 160,000 euro. If you go back to the quote and we see on those tabs like the profitability analysis or some others, we see directly those diagrams and those informations on a KPI level to see, okay, how now the costs are distributed and still do we still reach a margin? Or is the quote still profitable for us, for our organization, yes or no? And we can make as well the comparison to customer expectations. So as you maybe have recognized, we have always added some information. What is the customer budget for those lines, for those activities? And as you can see here, the system is telling us, hey, currently you're exceeding the customer budget, and therefore you're outside of the customer expectations. And detailed on the lower level, you see as well on which line in your quote you're over exceeding those limits. You have now the two possibilities. You can change your previously created lines, or for example, if you go to the project price list, you could generate a custom pricing, for example, to say, okay, maybe in that scenario, I like to have this is a huge project, I like to have a special pricing for that. You can create a custom one and override some of those prices. And then in that way, you can as well lower down the quoted amount. If we now jump, so this is the play forwards and backwards to meet those customer expectations. We could now add some new prices to change those quote lines. We can rework that assigned project to make a lower estimation finally. This is now everything possible on a quote level, and at a specific point we would close this as won or as lost, depending on if we have achieved the contract signed, yes or no. And in our case, we jump to a pre-generated project contract with some few modifications on a form level. You see here on a project contract, so after the quotation is won, the project contract gets automatically generated, and all of those lines we have added on a quote level is automatically handed over to the project contract. And in that case, we have our first created baseline. That means all of those project contract line details, which are generated in the quotation phase, are now as well available on the project contract. And they are the baseline which we can use for reporting, for example. This is really what has been sold to the customer from a pricing perspective. And now we can track this against the customer budget, the customer expectations, or the current usage of that information. And for that, we have multiple possibilities on a project contract level as well. It means we can specify again a not to exceed limit, which could be pretty important to not overcharge the customer finally. But on the contract performance tab, we have a much more detailed view on the contract. We have some health statuses which gets calculated in the back end. We have those committed and spent amount currently. We see those actual costs, the billed sales in a direct comparison, and as well, how many actual hours are currently tracked against those assigned projects. What is the timestamp for that information as well? It's pretty important. And how many hours has been contracted with the customer, and the same from a costing perspective. If we want to go one line more into depth and more into detail, we have now, this is a totally new information the system provides us out of the box. We see now on a line level as well the contracted amount, what is currently billed to the customer, how many costs have been accrued, and what is the calculated gross margin at this point, and what is the expected margin at the end of the project if we would proceed like we have done it before. So based on the rest of information, and then we can see as well, depending on the used resources from role perspective in those projects, we see how many costs has been incurred and what was the billing amount. So from a reporting perspective, this is really, we have huge information available out of the box to see how's the contract performance. Do we need get it active in a specific area, yes or no? And we can directly interact with those informations. If we jump one level deeper to the project we have assigned, we see as well some information on the summary tab. This can be changed according to your needs. Finally, you could have some overall status, see the progress, the calculate progress in percentage, some schedule information, and some hourly information. So as well, like the effort, how many is remaining, and compared to the initial planning, how large is the variance in the back end. Those are as well out of the box fields. To bring it on the surface to make it visible to use it in the project planning. And totally new is the experience around really the WBS, the planning of the projects, the planning of your tasks. This is now directly the usage of project for the web. And as you can see, this is really a nice overview with all those columns. You can, if you don't like to use them, you can hide them as well, or you can add some additional ones. And as we have seen on the roadmap in one of those future releases, we can add as well some custom buckets or information columns to it as well. System is directly pointing us out, so tasks which are delayed, we need to take care about. And what is the current state? And in the middle, we see those resources assigned to each of those tasks. And as you can see here, you can use different dimensions. You can specify the duration in days, in weeks, in months, in hours. So that really, from a planning perspective, there's a lot of freedom to work with that system. And in the lower level, as you can see here, those are really named resources. And in the lower level, sprint 3 and further, only generic resources are used currently. You can use with those whole capabilities of the system, mark some of those, copy it, and paste it in again. So the easiest way to generate new tasks, to plan them, to assign them, and then to connect them visually on the timeline. So on the timeline, you see as well all of your tasks. You see those dependencies around, and you can create new dependencies as well. If you just drag and drop, you can move those tasks, or visually, if you say, okay, this is now needs to be delayed by a month approximately, you can just move those information to the future. It's really nice to have, and backend as well supported is a Kanban style board with really fully customizable buckets. So you just click add a new button and name it like you want. So and now those buckets is available even on in the planning board. You can move those buckets around if you like it to have another order, and then you see directly which task as well here in that view, who is assigned to that task, which task is in progress, which of those tasks are maybe already done. So you can really work actively with that buckets. That's pretty nice. From experience, now you have multiple possibilities to work with the data, not only any longer a single WBS. Now we have really visual styles to work with the system. If you like to add new resources to a task, let's choose one of those lower, which is empty. You can easily select between those already existing team resources, even those generic ones or named resources, for example, or you can just simply hit create a new generic resource. Then the used quick create form will appear. You can specify a name for the resource you like to add, and then specify the role out of your system from a calculation perspective to assign it to the project finally. And now this new resource is available based on the working time model. So a generic resource is normally following the working time model of the project. The needed time from an effort perspective gets calculated automatically. This means the system will respect if you, for example, adding only a part-time employee to a specific task, and this will automatically expand the duration of the task. This is a pretty nice feature to use it in real life. And on the resource tab, we see now all of those information, all of those generic resources and named resources added to specific tasks. And what is still possible now, which is still pretty nice, is to work with those resource requirements. If you're not able to directly book a resource, for example, because you maybe have no idea who can fulfill who has the needed skills, the roles, so we can easily generate one of those requirements just by selecting a generic resource, which has no assignment assigned. Click on generate requirement, and then the system will generate one of those requirements, which can be handed over in the back end. After reviewing it, can automatically hand it over to, for example, to a PMO for staffing perspective. If I'd like to review it, I can see here, okay, currently only the role software engineer is there. I have a preferred organizational unit and an owning company. And depending on those, I can add additional ones if I like. If I'm done, I can submit it to a PMO, or I can directly entering the resource planning engine to find an available resource for me. And depending on my filter criteria on the left side, which is fully customizable to your needs, you get now resources and to book for this task, which has free capacity. In that scenario, we have maybe depending on the organizational unit and the owning company, it's limited. Okay, maybe it's depending on the role. So as you can see, you can easily remove some of those or add if you have too many resources available. Then you can add new filters, and so you can directly see who would be available to fulfill this task finally. In the bottom, you have a pretty nice overview. That's like small. Here you see that your requirement, and you see how much of this requirement is already fulfilled with bookings. And so in that case, we still need 209 hours to book against a specific resource to use it in our project. On the project level itself, we have, in addition, some information available. For example, if we scroll a little bit down, then we see from a planning perspective, we see, let's switch to a monthly view from a scaling. We see on a monthly base how much tasks we have planned for each of those resources currently. This is pretty nice from a forecasting perspective to see which roles or which resources are how utilized in the future inside of that project. We have as well the total amount on a project level. So per month, you can change your scaling like you want. And as well, change the grouping on the other side. This is pretty helpful, as mentioned, from a forecasting perspective, but to see as well which tasks are assigned to the project manager. And then you see directly those tasks and when are they planned from a timeline perspective. Below, you have an additional view for all the named resources, not for those generic ones, because for generic ones, we only create assignments and demand for those resources. For named resources, we book them. So we use their capacity inside of the project. And with the reconciliation view, we can have a look on a monthly level, so from a timing or on a daily level, however you like to, and on a resource level to see, okay, we have in November, for example, my resource is booked for 82 hours, and the project manager assigned me a total of 125 hours in tasks. So this is a mismatch from we have a delta from approximately 50 hours, and he can easily close this by if he extend my booking. Now some rules gets applied in the backend. If I would click it, the system will verify if I have enough time, for example, or if I already blocked with other projects. So there are other possibilities to proceed from this specific point to see how you can work with that with those resources. But pretty important is really to understand those 3 dimensions. We have not only an assignment, this is always has a beginning and an end date, and we talk about how much hours are required for a specific resource, depending on the assignment and tasks, and how many hours capacity we have from this resource already gets associated with our project. On those other tasks, we can have a deeper look into those financials, for example, based on those projects, like we have seen it on a project contract level. So we have, on the one hand side, we have the sales perspective, but as well the cost perspective, and to see here as well those cost variants, which is currently we below our budget. Maybe we have used cheaper resources than expected. Could be. For that, we need to compare it with the information on the contract, and then we would see from a reporting perspective where's the difference, and how compare with what was planned. On an not only what in the previously on the resource tab we have seen this grid from an hourly view, so how many time was assigned for a specific resource in a specific month. Here we can see easily what does this mean from an cost or sales perspective to the project for each of those assigned resources. This is as well from a planning perspective and the forecasting perspective. If you need to perform a reporting, pretty helpful to see what is the expected cost for each of those months, for example, for monthly reporting. And from a forecast perspective, from a revenue perspective, you see as well if everything is happening like it's planned in the plan, then you see the revenue for each month directly. It's visible and can be used inside of reporting, for example. We have added some additional tabs here to track risks, for example. This is only I would always say it's not a full-fledged risk management system, but it's an easy way to track risks on an easy level, and then to decide later on in projects as well to decide what else do we need to have approval processes based on it. Are there tasks needed to fulfill? What needs to be done with those risks? So you can easily add them to the system. And then those figures gets displayed here depending on the consequences and likelihood. We have a simple matrix here to display it visually. You can leverage those functions about grouping from the editable grid. So it's nothing special, it's only easy customizing finally to make such stuff visible on a project level, and the same for to track changes. And this is as well like the risk, this is only the baseline for a change management process. Depending on the customer needs, it's now possible to start with the tracking of those changes. Is there a cost impact? Is there a sales impact? And if yes, maybe we need to inform the sales guys to provide a new proposal. We need to talk with the customer, and if he agree, we add a new line to the contract. So depending on the scenario, we have multiple choices or ways to go here. This is only the baseline to keep or make them visible from a project management perspective, and the same for issues. More information is visible on the status page. On the status page, we have as well some information is to see, okay, how is the financial health, the schedule health, and depending on specific criteria in the back end, what we have seen on the other tabs, we can now calculate those fields and make them then afterwards read only and to calculate them automatically. The same for happening for project status reports. There's the possibility to create them automatically as well, or on demand by a project manager. Then some of those key information from front-end perspective gets added to that automatically. And as well in the back end, we can store a lot of other information. So we have scenarios where we store the value of each task finally to have really a sort of snapshotting for those projects. And then you can add some visuals like charts to the same page. This is not not a Power BI finally, it's only a simple chart, but this is as well you have now in a visual way how the cost is planned and is developed over the last couple of months. And below you see those detailed reporting really on a task level to see what was planned, how many hours have been completed for that task, what was the estimated in completion, and what is the completion calculated for this task overall. There are many more possibilities to track those information in the system. This is only the beginning point to come inside to see the possibilities of the system, which is available out of the box, and then use this as a starting point to implement more features around it. Next step, what I like to show is if we now go to the time entries. You see already there some approved working time for my person, then some unimproved, and I could add as well. The 19th is in the future, but maybe the 17th is today. I could just add another few hours to it. And then we can select those hours and, for example, submit them for approval. This is the normal approval process. Oh, there's maybe. Let's see. If not, we go without those hours. This is the normal time tracking and submit approval behavior from the system we use from PSA. So there's nothing new in special. You can track your time in that Excel style way, but if you have seen, there are many gaps you can step into, so you need to be aware of that and close it if you use it later in projects. But it's pretty, if it's fully configured and customized, it's pretty an extreme fast way to track time and to have valid data in the backend. And same for the approvals. On the approval step, this is the first step as an team member, you create those time entries, you validate, submit it for approval. As a project manager, I can review now those made or pre-generated approvals. What is totally new is now you have on each level you have those not to exceed validation, which is happening in each step in the back end. And currently this is successful. This means I can now approve that time. If I like, I can as well change the billing type or change the billable hours. So there's full flexibility for the project manager or for the project approver. If I'm not liking what they have reported, I can reject those entries as well and add a comment, and they can rework those made time entries and resubmit it for approval. After we approve those time entries, we can now take a look into our contract again. In the backend, we have here in the actuals, and the same is on the project level available as well. Only on the differences on the contract level, I see the summary from every assigned project, not depending on the line. On contract level, I see those actuals assigned to each of those, also for every line finally. So I have more information available. And then you can see here you have total information available for reporting. This is really the book of truth in the system. There you see all those financial data which is used in the reporting, and in each of those views we have seen before. This is really pretty informative and useful for reporting perspectives and as well from accounting. If those new time entries have been now approved in the back end, they are not directly ready for invoicing. So there's another step built into the system, which is therefore that maybe the project manager approves the time on a weekly base, but on a monthly base he double checks those time entries again to say, okay, now those are ready for approval. We have reached the milestone, or a specific, or the sprint has ended, for example, like in the plan I showed you. So currently from a planning perspective, now at the end of the sprint 1, I have now approved till the 17th. So the sprint should be finished now. Let's see if this already has happened. But there's still some gaps. So the approval is happening asynchronous and takes some time, a little time to occur in the system, but we can continue. There are already enough time entries available. Then we need to go refer to the billing backlog from a time material perspective to see those lines which are approved by the project manager, but not invoiced to the customer finally. Those starting from the 2nd of November till the 9th of November. We have a second page as well. So what we now do, we mark them as ready to invoice. And on that level, as you can see, you have as well the choice to mark them as not ready, explicitly not ready for invoicing. We can correct them again. Maybe if we before start the billing process, we see, oh, this is the wrong process, or there was some other mistake, or if the time frame between approving or submitting, approving, and now invoicing is too large, we can re-evaluate those not to exceed statuses to see if they are still valid from an invoicing perspective. So there's now really the billing backlog has been enriched with a lot of functionality to make the life easier from an invoicing perspective. So all those lines are ready for invoice. Let's mark those as well. Okay, if we now come back to our project contract, this is the same simple way we had before. We're now entering the integration into finance, but from an project manager perspective or back office perspective, this is still quite easy from look and feel. We need to create an invoice in the way we use from PSA. Now the system is going through those backlogs we've created before and is looking, are there any entries marked as ready for invoice? And if so, they get automatically added to the now newly created invoice. And we see here those informations from all assigned lines, what has happened. Previously, we have amount invoiced already to customer 105,000 euro. This invoice is approximately 42,000 euro. So it's still inside of the contracted amount. And so we can now, we could take a look into and change the data, but from day to the time, I would a little bit hurry up. We will just go through the process and confirm that invoice. This will start that integration to finance. And if we take a look on finance, we will just use an invoice I've created before the session. It takes now 2 minutes, maybe 3 minutes until all those items are automatically available in finance. But if we use a previously generated invoice, we can go to the invoice proposals and see all of those informations. And what is now totally new for us, maybe used for finance consultant, but we can easily format those invoices before we approve those. And we can say, for example, let's add a new, we have these are the fixed price components, like the milestones. And the next line is services, maybe only from a specific resource. Let's choose all of them. And so you can structure now your invoicing, like depending on where you could structure it on, depending on phases inside of the project, or each consultant to a specific group, and those group again in another group. So you can really, if you have your layout ready from your invoice, you can now structure the content easily. This was really an often request. We've had many projects to have the ability to structure it, to assign it to different invoices, to have those travel costs not in the same invoice like we have it for the service costs and so on. So now this really, with the integration of F&O, this is easily possible to achieve. Needs still some configuration, but it's really a huge enrichment or enlargement from a functionality perspective. We have now approximately 10 minutes left from a timing perspective. So I would stop from a presentation perspective to spend at least some time to talk about the early adopter program. Let me restart my presentation. So, as Gurkan mentioned in his part of the session, the early adopter program is from our point of view as well, is really a great program powered by Microsoft. Those customers which participate in that program are really can have huge benefits from his participation. This is really, they start quite early with the product. So in our case, from project durations, we have 2 running early adopter programs with 2 customers. So with more than 1 project, more than 2 projects, but 2 customers, which are part of that. And the assistance Microsoft provides us and the customer, us as implementation partner and the customer is really great. So we have regular coordination and assistant calls with Microsoft. They provide hot fixes, workarounds. They give us the ability to have the proof of our designs already and due to the fact that we really start soon. So one of those are started already in end of July with the implementation. So this was pretty from a product perspective was pretty soon. So GA was 1st of October, and the beginning of July was approximately where the public preview starts. So this was the time we start with the project. We have gained a lot of information, a lot of insights into those features and functions and designs behind the scenes. This is really helpful for the customer in the implementation. And as well, so this is a win-win situation or a win-win-win situation. So there are 3 parties involved. So Microsoft gets knowledge about what is really needed from a market perspective, had a proof of their functions. The customer has the ability to have the chance to talk directly with the responsible persons behind the scenes, to get insights, to get the knowledge, to give feedback, and those feedback is really respected and appreciated from Microsoft. And it's a great chance to have as well, an effect on the product itself. Maybe not in the near time. Sometimes there's a feedback which is on the roadmap, then and you see it back with some later items, some later features in the next release. And so from us as well, from a system integrator perspective or partner perspective, the participation in those programs is really, really helpful. It supports us pretty much in discussing our designs and together with the customer, together with Microsoft. So that's it from my side. Now I'm available for your questions.
Thank you very much, Manuel. Thank you very much, Gurkan, for this nice session. All presentations and demo was really great. Meanwhile you were talking, we were checking our Q&A session. So there are several questions we answered already. I think, Gurkan, there was just one question we didn't manage to answer yet because it was just recently showed up here. So maybe we can read it and answer those questions.
Yes, so happy to. And thank you for everybody for the questions. Please keep them coming. So this demo shows integration to F&O. Will new customers be required to use, I guess, finance and supply chain and project operations as a different integration and licensing? Yes, so let me start with the licensing part. Project operations is a new offering from Microsoft, and similar to this to the licensing changes that we saw last October with the OAG plan going away and thus introducing finance and supply chain. We are now introducing project operations that will have the capabilities that were in the PMA module and the expense capabilities that were in finance. Entitlement to those capabilities will be through the project operations license, along with the Dynamics-based Microsoft project experience, as well as the legacy project service automation capabilities will be all part of project operations. So from a licensing perspective, we are no different than finance and supply chain. From that perspective, obviously our price point is different, but if you need to use the project management and accounting capabilities, you will need the project operations license or the legacy project service automation capabilities, then you will need the project operations license. And then use.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Okay,
I don't see any other questions.
Please let me know if there's a question there on the product side, and I'm happy to answer that as well.
Great. Thank you very much, both of you, for this session. That was really great. Just a small promotion from my side for the next session. So tomorrow we will have a session about cooperation between Dynamics 365 and AutoCAD integration. And then on Thursday, we'll have a session connected to our add-ons, new add-ons. And on Friday, we'll have a session around field service and marketing tool with all new updates which came with the Wave 2. And there is, I think, No, there is no question, but thank you very much for your nice feedback. There are so many nice and really nice words from you. Then I think if there will be other questions, feel free to contact us through look@proMX.net. And we will really appreciate if you can submit our survey. You can find those links in the QA session. And have a great day or evening wherever you are, and please stay safe. See you then tomorrow.